Hello everybody! Welcome to Travel Partner Official. Today, we're diving into a story that's both sweet and a little scary. The truth about cheap chocolate. We all love chocolate, but do we really know what's inside those bargain bars? Before you reach for your next treat, let's unwrap what makes cheap chocolate so cheap and why it matters. This isn't about guilt. It's about making smarter choices. Think of this as your map for a better chocolate journey. We'll explore what's really in those bars, why they cost so little, and what that means for you and others. Ready to discover the secrets behind your favorite treat? Let's get started. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to Travel Partner Official. Knowledge is power, and in this case, it's also pretty sweet. Let's jump in. Why do we love chocolate so much? It's more than just taste. Chocolate's story goes back thousands of years to the Mayans and Aztecs, who valued cacao as a gift from the gods. They drank it, not ate it, and even used cacao beans as money. When chocolate reached Europe, sugar transformed it into the sweet treat we know today. Factories made chocolate accessible to everyone, turning it into a global obsession. There's science behind our cravings. Chocolate triggers feel-good chemicals in our brains. It's comfort, reward, and happiness in a bite. Today, chocolate is everywhere, from fancy boutiques to gas stations. But not all chocolate is created equal. The difference between ancient cacao and today's cheap bars is huge. The story of how chocolate got so cheap is where things get interesting. Let's find out what's really inside those bargain bars. The sweet story is about to get a little sour. Let's break down how chocolate is made, and why not all chocolate is created equal. The process might look similar on the surface, but when it comes to cheap chocolate, there are a lot of hidden shortcuts that make a big difference. Good chocolate starts with high-quality cacao beans, which are carefully fermented, roasted, and blended with rich cocoa butter and just the right amount of sugar. This careful process brings out deep, complex flavors and a smooth, melt-in-your-mouth texture that chocolate lovers crave. Cheap chocolate? It's a completely different story, and not in a good way. To cut costs, manufacturers use less cacao and cocoa butter, replacing them with large amounts of sugar and cheap vegetable oils like palm or shea. These ingredients are much less expensive, but they come at the expense of taste and quality. The result? A chocolate bar that feels waxy and greasy in your hands, with a dull one-note flavor that's a far cry from the real thing. The texture is often hard or crumbly, and it doesn't melt smoothly on your tongue. Lower quality beans and rushed processing mean even more sugar and artificial flavors are needed to cover up the lack of real chocolate taste. Additives and preservatives are often thrown in to extend shelf life, but they do nothing for flavor. So when you bite into cheap chocolate, you're not really tasting chocolate at all. You're tasting a mix of fillers, artificial flavors, and sweeteners designed to trick your taste buds. It's like ordering a fruit smoothie and getting mostly ice with just a hint of fruit. The main ingredient is missing, and you're left with something that only pretends to be the real deal. The end result is a chocolate bar that's cheap to make and cheap to buy, but it's also lacking in quality, flavor, and the true chocolate experience. And the shortcuts don't stop at the ingredients. They affect every step of the process, from the way the beans are sourced to how the bars are packaged and shipped. So the next time you bite into a bargain bar, remember, you're getting exactly what you pay for. Less chocolate, more filler. But what does cheap really mean for your health and for the people who grow and make your chocolate? There's a hidden cost that goes far beyond the price tag. The real cost of cheap chocolate isn't just about saving a few dollars. It can mean poor nutrition, unfair labor practices, and environmental harm. So before you reach for that bargain bar, here's what you need to know about what's really inside and what it truly costs. Cheap chocolate isn't just about a low price tag you see on the shelf. It's a signal that something important is missing from what you're about to eat. When you look closer, you'll notice it's not just about saving money. Cheap chocolate usually means less cacao and cocoa butter, the ingredients that give chocolate its rich flavor and health benefits. Instead, you'll find more sugar, fillers, and other cheap substitutes. A high-quality chocolate bar keeps things simple. Just cacao, sugar, and maybe a touch of cocoa butter. That's it. No need for a long list of extras. But with cheap chocolate, the ingredient list grows. Suddenly you see sugar at the top, followed by vegetable oils, milk powder, soy lecithin, and artificial flavors. These are there to cut costs, not to make your chocolate better. All those fillers and additives might make the bar cheaper, but they also strip away nutrition and quality. You're left with a product that's more about quantity than quality. Real cocoa is packed with antioxidants and nutrients that can actually be good for you. Cheap chocolate, on the other hand, is mostly empty calories and sugar, offering little more than a quick energy spike. The trade-off is clear. You might pay less at the register, but you're also getting less nutrition and more ingredients that aren't doing your body any favors. And there's another hidden cost that's easy to overlook. Those low prices often mean the farmers who grow the cacao are paid very little for their hard work. Cheap chocolate can come at the expense of fair labor, ethical sourcing, and overall quality. The savings you see might be coming from someone else's loss. The true cost of cheap chocolate isn't just on the label, it's paid by your health and by the people who grow and harvest the beans, often in tough conditions. So next time you spot a bargain bar, take a moment to check the ingredients and think about what's really inside. Is it worth the trade-off? Remember, cheap isn't always a good deal. Sometimes you get exactly what you pay for. Let's take a closer look at the real risks behind that low price. Here's what's really troubling about cheap chocolate. While it might seem like a harmless indulgence, there's a lot more going on beneath the surface than most people realize. First, let's talk about the ingredients. Cheap chocolate is often loaded with sugar and unhealthy fats, sometimes even trans fats, which are especially bad for your health. These ingredients are used to cut costs, but they come at a price to your well-being. Consuming these kinds of fats and excess sugar can raise your risk of heart disease, diabetes, and other serious health problems. Over time, these effects add up, especially if cheap chocolate becomes a regular treat. Then there's palm oil, a common substitute for cocoa butter in low-cost chocolate. Its production is linked to massive deforestation, loss of wildlife habitats, and significant environmental harm, especially in tropical regions. Quality control is often lacking in these products, leading to contamination risks. Some cheap chocolates have even tested high for dangerous heavy metals like lead and cadmium, which can be especially harmful to children and pregnant women. But perhaps the most disturbing part isn't what's in the chocolate, but the human cost behind it. Much of the world's cacao comes from West Africa, where unfair labor practices, including child labor, are widespread. Children are often forced to work long hours in dangerous conditions, missing out on education and a chance at a better future. Low prices paid for cacao mean farmers can't afford to pay adult workers fair wages, trapping entire families in cycles of poverty. This system keeps communities struggling, generation after generation. When you buy ultra-cheap chocolate, you might unknowingly be supporting this broken system, fueling both environmental destruction and human suffering. The sweet treat can hide a bitter reality, one that's easy to overlook when you're just craving a snack. It's not just about taste, it's about your health, the health of the planet, and the lives of people who make your chocolate possible. So, what can you do about it? Being an informed consumer is the first step. Look for brands that are transparent about their sourcing and committed to fair labor practices. Let's look at some real-life examples of companies and farmers who are working to change the industry for the better. The truth is in the details. So next time you reach for a chocolate bar, take a closer look at what you're really buying. Let's get real with some examples. Ever bitten into a chocolate that tasted waxy or artificial? That's cheap ingredients at work. Some watchdog groups have found high levels of heavy metals in popular, inexpensive brands. Long-term exposure is a real concern. Remember the palm oil controversy? A famous chocolate spread was linked to rainforest destruction and endangered species loss. Public outcry forced the company to change its practices. The most heartbreaking stories come from cacao farms. Children working in dangerous conditions, missing out on school. That cheap bar might be cheap because someone else paid the price. These stories show the real impact of our choices. When consumers demand better, companies listen. Every purchase is a vote for the kind of world you want. So how do you make better choices? Here's your guide. Ready to become a chocolate detective? Here's how. Check the ingredients. Look for cacao or chocolate liquor first, not sugar. Shorter ingredient lists usually mean higher quality. For dark chocolate, a higher cacao percentage means more of the good stuff. Look for certifications like Fair Trade or Rainforest Alliance. These help ensure fair wages and sustainable practices. Ethical chocolate costs more, but it's worth it. Try buying less often, but choosing better quality. Savor a few squares of great chocolate instead of a whole cheap bar. You'll enjoy it more and feel better about your choice. Quality over quantity is the way to go. Every small change adds up. And if you want more tips, subscribe to Travel Partner Official. You'll be a chocolate expert in no time. Make your next chocolate experience a better one, for you and for the world. Let's wrap it up. This isn't about perfection, it's about being thoughtful. Every chocolate bar has a story, and now you know what to look for. Small choices, like reading labels or picking fair trade, make a big difference. When enough people care, companies change. Spending a little more on ethical chocolate is an investment in your health, the planet, and fair wages for farmers. You're helping build a better world, one treat at a time. Next time you crave chocolate, pause and think about your choice. Enjoy your treat, knowing it's good in every sense. Being a thoughtful consumer is powerful. You're voting for the world you want with every purchase. That's a sweet deal. Thanks for joining us on this journey. Let's keep making better choices together. We've unwrapped the truth about cheap chocolate, from ancient history to today's realities. The goal isn't to scare you, but to empower you as a smart chocolate lover. Every small step, like reading labels or choosing fair trade, matters. You're making a difference with every choice. Here at Travel Partner Official, we're building a community of curious, caring people. Subscribe for more stories, tips, and inspiration. Let's keep learning and making better choices together. Thanks for being here. Go out and be a chocolate detective. See you next time.